nice to see all of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here. I'm Reverend Tracy. For those of you who may have forgotten what I look like, I am just, I've been talking to you all year long, but it certainly is different when I can actually see you to talk to you. So thank you for those of you who are able to join us in person, and hello to everybody out there in virtual land. We know that you are with us in spirit, and we are so happy to be together, so happy to be reminded of how good life is, and so happy to remind each other that we are all in this together, that we have a community of love and support, and that we are living our best lives each and every day. And part of the reason we're able to do that is that we know the truth of who we are, and when we forget, we come here again. So this is all good. Thank you all for coming, and I'm just so happy to be here. Couldn't be a more beautiful day today. So in a couple of weeks, not next weekend, but the first weekend in May, we will resume services in the sanctuary. Exactly. Long time coming. We're still putting some things in place to make sure that it's safe for everyone. You will still need to wear your mask. We will, ask you to spread way out inside. We'll have the doors and windows open so there's a lot of air going. And the only other thing that might be a little different is we won't be singing as a congregation just yet, but we will have live music. So I am looking forward to that in a couple of weeks, and we are certainly hoping to see all of you there who are comfortable doing so. It's wonderful. I want to thank our board and our practitioners for making this year happen. This has been quite the challenge, quite the journey, and if it weren't for the consciousness that we hold and the people willing to do what we can do on the ground to keep our building functional, to get our technology all lined up, to expand what we know about how to do service in creative ways, we wouldn't even be here. I know many businesses, many churches have folded during this time, and I am just so delighted that we as a community are still here, still thriving. And at our board retreat this last Sunday, we came up with our 2021 slogan, if you will, CCSL Alive and Well. Yeah. All right, well, let's get started this morning. We're going to do a little bit of centering and get ourselves grounded in spirit. I'll be calling up our practitioner, Brad, in just a minute here, but I want to just invite you to close your eyes and take that deep breath and listen for the sound of the bowl. And let that sound move you within, move you to that heart center within your own self, that place of light and love and peace. Taking yourselves to that place where you know only spirit, where you know only that which is true.
I went to the beach yesterday, so I looked like an advertisement for some kind of beets. I feel a little red. Maybe I don't look that way. Now you see it. Yeah, now I see it, Brad. It's wonderful to see each and every one of you here today. It makes me feel good. What? Oh, pull this off, he says, because we're shooting this for England. I want you to come together with me now in this springtime garden that we have here. We're so fortunate and so lucky to have this, and we're fortunate to be in Southern California where we can actually meet like this in shirt sleeves, and it's really wonderful. So let's come together now and close your eyes for a moment. Let's know that the power and the presence of the universe is with us. And let's know that we are so blessed by having all of the things that we have in the world. I am so happy that we're able to meet once again, and we will be back in full force with everything we have. I want you to know that you are part of this universe, and you are an undifferentiated part of everything that is. And it is so wonderful. So join with me now as we begin this service, and let's know that everything that we have is ours, and everything that we have belongs to the one, so it belongs to everyone else also. So we are all one, and let's say together now, and so it is. Humanity is made up of innumerable individuals, no two alike, and yet society is a composite whole, moving gradually towards some ultimate goal. What could this goal be other than that everyone, while remaining individual, shall find more complete expression in and among other individuals? This has been the dream of the ages, and the lion shall lie down with the lamb, and the little child shall lead them. As Jesus said, that they may be one even as we are one. You belong to the universe in which you live. You are one with a creative genius back of this vast array of ceaseless motion, this original flow of life. You are as much a part of it as the sun, the earth, and the air. There is something in you telling you this, like a voice echoing from some mountaintop of inward vision, like a light whose origin no man has seen, like an impulse welling up from an invisible source. Your soul belongs to the universe. Your mind is an outlet through which the creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. This is your starting point for investigating the meaning of these impulses, longings, and desires which accompany you through life. You may accept that the source through which they come is real. You may accept that the universe is filled with a divine and infinite presence, perhaps the infinite of yourself. Not the infinite of your limited self, but the infinite of the divine self you must be. There must be a pattern of yourself in this invisible, and there is, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. So the title today is, well, imagine that. And I want to start with a quote by Christian D. Larson. Larson was a New Thought originator back in the early days, and actually came to know Holmes and Science of Mind, was actually a teacher at Holmes Institute in the early days. And he says this: we are always imagining something. It's practically impossible to be awake without imagining something. Then why not imagine something at all times that will inspire the powers within us to do greater and greater things? Yeah. So last December of 2020, the board was getting together and talking about, as we always do at the end of the year, budgeting, how do we look for the upcoming year? What are we going to do at the end of the year? We don't really have a fundraiser, so what does that look like? And what do we need to put in place to come back together? Because eventually we know we're going to get to come back together, although in December we had no idea when that might be able to happen. We're 9 months into a pandemic, and one of our board members pipes up with, hey, how about if we just get $21,000 by January of 2021? Isn't that a great idea? And we all went, that sounds great. Yeah, sure. Not exactly believing, not exactly sure we could really do it. But what an exciting idea. And I want to tell you something. That on January 21st, 2021, we had taken in, from that board meeting until that day, we had taken in $21,000. So let's talk about the power of imagination, shall we?
All right.
Yes. Yes. There was no reason to believe with the logical mind that that would happen, could happen, was about to happen. But the power of one person, this was the idea of one person who truly believed it was possible, which then spreads to everyone else in the atmosphere and moves from the invisible to the visible. And this is the creative process at work. And what we're talking about today is the power of our imagination to be the key, the fuel, the oomph in our abundant life. Because our theme this month is life is abundant. And if you're going to believe that life is abundant, that means it's abundant for you and for me and for everyone else, and that we have the tools and what we need, and we are designed to let that abundance flow. And so we have the power within us to demonstrate. But what Ernest Holmes tells us is that the abundance you desire to experience must first be an experience in your mind. In other words, there's got to be an idea in order to end up with some form, some demonstration, some manifestation. So if you read the e-blast, the little summary about this week's talk, this whole thing started because I had this, Facebook is wonderful for a lot of things, but you didn't know how spiritual it was. This little meme flew by one day about the Jetsons and how they had work from home and picture phone calls and watches with pictures on them and tele-health appointments, and I haven't seen the hovercraft yet, but everything else is here. 60 years ago. What were you doing 60 years ago? How advanced were you 60 years ago? And yet in that time, we have advanced. We do have this technology, but it started in the imagination of these writers who had no real reason to believe that we would be able to see each other while we talked on the phone. We are the creators of this life that we live, and our imagination is the jet fuel that makes it happen. So in the Joyous Abundance Journal, which is written by Reverend Dr. Petra Weldis and Reverend Dr. Christian Sorensen, we have this. Ernest Holmes quote, "How much life, abundance, goodness, truth, and beauty can we mentally entertain? This is the measure of our possible experience. This is the mold of acceptance. The infinite fills all molds and flows forever into new and greater ones. It is the unborn possibility of limitless experience, and we give birth to it." And the writing for this day is that daydreaming or wishful thinking about having a more fulfilled and abundant life is not enough. We must imagine that it's actually possible for us to experience. Imagine the kind of life you'd truly like to have, and then notice where the yeah buts show up or the ideas of limitation creep in. Notice where there is a lingering judgment or a sense of something being unreachable. These are the boundaries of your mold. This is the shape of your mental acceptance. Every time you say, "I can just imagine," you are defining the shape of your life. So every time we come up against one of those places where we hesitate, where we think, well, yeah, that's a nice idea, but, we've just reached the edge of the vessel with which we receive life. And anytime we can push that away, we can push that out, we can clear up that perceived obstacle, we open ourselves to a greater acceptance, a greater flow. Because the thing about abundance is that it is a flow. The word affluence is at its root to flow. And we're not just talking about money. I mean, we do talk about money, but we're also talking about what? For me, abundance is time. Having unscheduled time is like like playing hooky from school. It's like, woohoo, I'm good. I feel all luxurious. I don't have to be anywhere or do anything or make anything happen. I'm good. Maybe for you, it's having a whole new set of artistic supplies in your art room. Or maybe it's just having an open road and a full tank of gas. So we all have our own unique perception of what abundance is. My abundance isn't necessarily yours, but there is an abundance in life. And my having mine and you having yours doesn't take away from anybody else, because what we know about the universe is that there's more than enough to go around, and then some. What we're doing is we're balancing the way we understand spiritual truth with the way that we think, and then bringing into alignment the way that we feel, which is where the imagination comes in. You see, we decide what we want, or at least a direction, and then we claim it because we know we can have it, and then we feel how good it's going to be because it's already ours. What's that feel like? What does that seem like? And once we've got that mental, emotional, directional thing set, we see it. It shows up. Maybe not the way we expected, maybe not quite when we expected it, but it does show up. Ernest Holmes reminds us that, we talk a lot about thinking in Science of Mind, how we think, training our thought, getting our mind right so that we can live our best life. He says, will and imagination are not the same. You use your will in making decisions and your feeling and imagination in bringing power to them. Remember that when imagination and will are in conflict, imagination always wins. This is because emotion strikes deeper in the well springs of being than does the intellect. In other words, you can think all you want. Your life is driven by how you feel. So part of our spiritual practice is to get still, is to calm the waters, to not be agitated when we're thinking what we would like to do with our life, or what we would like to call forth, or what we would like to experience. What we are being asked to do in our practice is to align the way that we think with what we know spiritually and add in the fuel, which is the feeling, the emotion, the imagination. Well, imagine that. So take a second, close your eyes. Imagine that maybe you don't know exactly what you want, but you can imagine yourself saying thank you for some fabulous thing in your life. Feel yourself being grateful for great things, being thankful and amazed. And really feel that in your body. Picture whatever you picture, but feel how it is to be so grateful for so many amazing things that are coming to you. Wow. Wow. And bring yourself back to this space. And let me just remind you that when you see yourself grateful and amazed, the universe will give you reason to be. You see yourself in that light, and the universe says, yes, and here's another wow, and here's something else for you. And look, here's what you've always wanted. But it's up to us to put wind in that sail, right? That set that direction and feel it as true. Because it is. Because it is. Your brain sees what you imagine as real. Well, that's silly. You're just making stuff up. I'm just thinking of something that's not real. Well, try this. Close your eyes again. I want you to picture a slice of lemon. Beautiful, yellow, juicy. Now, I want you to sink your teeth into it in your mind's eye. Did you feel your mouth move inside when you bit into that imaginary lemon? You see, our mind is very powerful, and our brain does go with what we put in there. So we have the ability, as Larson says, to imagine things that bring us greater experiences, greater abundance. It's the same thing that happens when you worry, right? It gets worse and worse and worse. Worry makes it worse. You see how those two words go together? Why? Because your brain doesn't know that it's not quite happened yet. It's simply bringing you the feeling of what happens if everything goes wrong. We are always at choice. We get to pick what we put into our imagination. So pause often and imagine that. Imagine that good that feels like it's next for you. And if you don't know what it is, just imagine being grateful anyway. Spend a little time in the absolute. Spend some time in your spiritual understanding of what is possible, what is good, what is uniquely resonant for you. You are activating the law every time you do that. And we can live our life from that consciousness, the consciousness that says the infinite possibility is true for me, even here, even now, even in this situation. Holmes writes, "The highest consciousness is not one of possession, but of being. The greater your consciousness of being, the more automatically will the law flow from this consciousness into the acquisition of the things you desire." Or to say it in a more traditional way, seek first the kingdom of God and all things will be added unto you. So go ahead, imagine your best life. Spend a little time swimming around and how good that feels. Tap into that power, that fuel, that essence that will bring you to where you want to go and beyond. To whatever the universe's greater idea is for your life. You want to be part of that. Let's do that. And we'll end again with Christian Larson, who says, "The secret of the master mind is found wholly in the use of the imagination." Namaste. So join me in a moment of prayer, if you will. Taking this moment, this place that we find ourselves in, wherever that may be, and join together in consciousness where there is no time, no space, only mind. And in this place of consciousness, we recognize that there is only one power of life, in life, as life, through life. That this power of life is one of good, of joy, of abundance. And that this life of spirit is my life and your life and everyone's. And as we are one with this life, we are also one with all that creates, all that is. And so I speak my word for my creation of life, for my part in this journey that I call my experience. And that word is a word of progress and evolution and transformation and expansion. For the nature of life is to grow, and I am that. I speak the words of Ernest Holmes when I say that this philosophy that we teach when it comes to dealing with the invisible for practical purposes, we let our imagination lay hold of it, let the feeling respond to it, let the emotion tie up with it, and let the intellect and will give it form. So I open my imagination to that infinite possibility for good and for greater good. I open my heart to the infinite possibility for love and for greater love. I open my mind to the ideas which inspire and uplift not only me, but those around me, and the consciousness of all humanity. For right where I am, God is. And in this place, in this time, there is only good unfolding and unfolding and unfolding, laid out before me like a banquet table. And so as we walk this path together, this spiritual knowing, this opening to what is creative, this opening to the power within, I am grateful and amazed at the blessings seen and unseen, those known and not yet known, for the supply which comes from sources expected and unexpected. For it is all good, it is all God, and into the law goes this word, guaranteeing its creation, from the invisible to the visible, from the heart out into the world. It is good, it is God, it is here, it is now. I am grateful, and so it is. Okay. I invite you to join me in saying our affirmation. I'll say it for you, and you repeat after me, please. I entertain new possibilities as my own reality. New possibilities as my own reality. Abundance flows to me. Spirit supports my joy. And so it is. All right. Okay, a little bit about what's happening here. We've got class starts this week on Tuesday night. If you have questions, see Mary. Mary, raise your hand. This is Unleash Your Potential. It's exactly what we're talking about today. How big is your container? And how do I make it bigger? How do I understand better how to create my best life? So it's going to be a great class. Tuesday nights at 6:30. On Zoom still, so anybody can join, yes. And just talk to Mary if you need a little more information today. Again, a reminder that in a couple weeks we'll be back inside. So we will still have safety protocols in place. Everybody wears a mask. We'll make sure that you're all spread out. We'll probably take your, we will take your temperature at the door just to make sure you're not carrying any hidden cooties that you don't know about. And after service, we will ask you to exit from the back rows first, like at a procession or something. And we'll also ask you to move right on outside, okay? So no loitering in the foyer and talking in a small closed room, because you can't help yourselves. You're going to want to stand right next to each other. And we're not quite ready for that. Now, the plan is the bookstore will be open. We'll probably limit it to 2 or 3 people at a time, again, just so you can stay spread out a little bit. And other than that, and we're not going to have fellowship after with food and coffee. We're just not quite ready for that yet. But what I know is that just being in the same space is lovely. And even if we're standing out there in the shade of the foyer chatting away, that is a welcome connection that I know we have all missed. So that's what it'll look like. Not next week. Next week will be online. But the week after that, we'll be back together, as long as nothing else changes in the health department world, right? Because we are still being flexible. Yes, we are. Okay. I want to let you know that last weekend we had our board retreat. This is an opportunity for the new board members to come together and get to know each other a little better, welcome the new people, try not to scare them away, just spend an afternoon. I want to thank Jan for hosting in her backyard. She has a lovely yard right up the street here, and it was a beautiful afternoon. And if you're on the board, will you please stand, wave? Come on, a couple of you are here. Shelley, our treasurer, Chris and Diane, Jerry, our secretary, Sean is our adjunct board member, just checking in. And go ahead, you can have a seat, folks. And not here today is Jan, our president, and Tammy, our vice president. But we had a lovely, lovely afternoon. Okay, so this Wednesday night, we have our meditation with Nisa via phone. We have our gateway service via Zoom with Mary. And you all know the drill. And if you have questions on that, please talk to me. Where have you been all year? Okay, you know how this works, right? All right. And last but not least, I would like to bless the prosperity of this center. All right. So we are not passing a basket, but there are baskets in the front and the back where you can leave your contributions. But let's say our prosperity affirmation together, shall we? Those of you that remember it. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. All right, my friends, that's it for today. Thank you again for being here, for joining us online and in person, and we'll see you next week. Until then, remember, you are loved.